failing our plants. G'day to all you lovely people and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you haven't been here before. My name is Kathy and this is where I talk about my plants and all my other pet hobbies. Today I wanted to talk about failing our plants. Well, that's what I call it anyway. The reason I decided to do this video is that I have failed, I feel, several of my plants recently, particularly this last summer. And for those of you who aren't aware of it, I'm in Australia and our summer just ended and we are now in autumn. And I've had quite a few fails over the summer, which is surprising. You usually have those, say, in winter when plants do seem to struggle more. Not for me. And if you are anything like me, you'll take it to heart and you'll blame yourself for not doing enough research or not noticing a problem quick enough or not acting quickly enough. But the truth is, I think we can't always succeed. Sometimes we are going to fail. Sometimes we might make a mistake and it might affect our plants. Sometimes it won't. If I've learned anything over the last 2 years since I've had plants, is that I really know very little. And what I don't know far outweighs what I do know, regardless of how much research I do. However, what is really frustrating for me in particular is when I think I do understand a plant and I've been able to keep it alive and flourishing, say, for over a year, and then all of a sudden it starts deteriorating. That happened to me a couple of months ago, and I will be honest, I was absolutely gutted. It was one of my favorite plants and I didn't understand what had happened to it and why it started deteriorating. And it's taken me a while to get over that. So I couldn't make this video earlier, but that really is why I decided to make this video, to share what I learned and hope that other people will learn from my mistakes. And the plant in question is this. This is what is left of my Peperomia polybotrya, or raindrop peperomia. I will insert a photo here so you can see what it looked like last year when it was doing very well. As you can see, she is not doing well. Some of her leaves have these black crispy bits, which I believe is a sign of a water issue. And some of her leaves look still very unhealthy. When I first bought her, she was quite small. She was probably about so high. And I've had her now since November 2019, so about 16, 17 months. And I've always kept her in my study, in an east-facing window, and she flourished. She did so well. And even though originally I didn't love her, I certainly grew to love her very much. And then, I think it was 2 months ago, perhaps 3, I decided to move her, to put her in my north-facing window, because I like to do that. I like to change around where my plants sit. And she started getting like a dark brown or black rim on the edges of the leaves, which I knew was a sign of a water issue, which surprised me. As far as I knew, I had not changed my watering schedule. I always check my plants with a moisture meter and then I water them if they need it. And the polybotrya likes to dry out completely. I usually wait until she is 1 on the moisture meter before I water her. I thought perhaps she was getting too much light, even though there is a curtain between her and the plant. So I brought her back to my study where she did better. But she kept deteriorating. She kept losing her leaves. And these black marks were definitely getting worse. I cut some of them off. I thought perhaps there was another issue. I did a lot of reading, a lot of research, and I was baffled. And that is the problem. I still don't know for certain what caused her to deteriorate. In the end, I decided it must have been overwatering. I couldn't think of anything else that it could be. There are no pests on her. There are no fungal issues. The problem seemed to be watering. And I was fairly certain it was not underwatering. It was most likely overwatering. And I think one of the reasons that I might have overwatered her is that last summer, a year ago, it was an extremely hot summer. That was when we had the very bad bushfires in Australia. And it was also extremely humid. But this summer has been quite different to that one. It has been on the cooler side. And I did notice, maybe too late, that my plants did not require anywhere near as much water as they did the previous year. So perhaps I did overwater her without realizing it. Regardless, it taught me a lesson that I had gotten into the habit of, say, watering this plant, say, once a week. And I should have paid more attention to the weather as well. I had taken her out of the pot when I first noticed the problem, and I couldn't see any issues. But about a month ago, I took her out of the pot again, and she had lost all her roots. She had very, very few roots left. And I'll insert a picture here so you can see. I took 3 large stem cuttings. That's why she looks very sad at the moment. And then she started putting out this kind of like a new branch. And all these other new leaves have been coming out. Everywhere, actually. She is growing here as well. She's growing here. She's growing pretty much almost everywhere. Except this stem, I don't think this one is doing as well. Regardless, the main stem is doing very well, which really surprised me. I thought she had so few roots that she was most likely going to die. And if she had deteriorated further, I would have taken even more stem cuttings. But she might be back on the road to recovery. I'm not sure yet. I am hopeful, but not very optimistic. Frankly, I feel that I failed her because look at her compared to what she looked like last year. Every time I look at her, it's like she's reproaching me for not noticing that there was a problem earlier. And perhaps that is the issue. I was so used to her doing well that I didn't notice quickly enough that there was a problem. Perhaps I was in denial. That is very possible as well. Regardless, I do feel that I have failed her. And all I can hope is that perhaps I can bring her back to her former glory. It was a salutary lesson for me to realize that even a plant that I thought I knew and understood could deteriorate, that I might still get it wrong and cause her to die. And I realize I really don't know anything whatsoever. And it is very frustrating, I have to admit, to realize just how little I do know. Now, perhaps I'm being too hard on myself. I've only been a plant owner for 2 years, and I feel like I'm still such a novice. But it doesn't matter. I was so upset at almost killing my Polybotria that some part of me wanted to give up entirely. But I don't like to be defeated, and I do understand that it takes time and experience. And now that this has happened with my Polybotria, I will be more observant, even with those plants that I think I do understand, because it can change so quickly. So that was a very, very valuable lesson that I think I needed to learn. Send me your best wishes that my Polybotria will return to her former glory, because it is so hard looking at her like this. She is a constant reminder that I failed her. Now the other plant I wanted to show you, yes, not just one, there are several. Another plant that I feel I have failed is this. This is my Aglaonema Katrina. This one is really hurting as well. She was doing so well just perhaps a month ago. I put a picture of her up on Instagram because she was flourishing and growing so beautifully for me. And as you can see, she's tilting a little to the side. So I repotted her. I thought I'll check her roots, see if she needs a bit more room, and I will straighten her up. And she's still tilting to the side. And she has been losing leaves ever since. They have been turning yellow and dying. There are no pests on her. There is nothing wrong with her roots. They're nice and healthy. And all I can think of is that she has gone into transplant shock. And one of the things that plants do when they go into shock is discard leaves. She did bring out one leaf, which was yellow. She's bringing out another. I'm not holding out much hope that that one's going to be healthy. So I guess I'm going to have to wait and see whether she will recover or not. And I'm just so gutted that this beautiful little plant is struggling now so hard. And I don't know what else to do for her. I've given her sea salt because sea salt is good to help them establish roots. It is like a vitamin pick-me-up. But no. And I suspect I might actually lose her. Whoever says Aglaonemas are easy, certainly not in my experience. Perhaps it is our climate in Melbourne, I really don't know. But I have found these are particularly finicky plants. Sometimes they can do really well, and sometimes they can just start deteriorating for no reason. Well, I don't know what the reason is. The reason I feel I have failed her is because I fiddled with her. I should have left her alone. She was doing fine. But because I didn't like the way she was sitting, I repotted her, and this is the result. And she's still not sitting right. And I feel that what I did to this plant is another plant fail. And I think one of the reasons I fiddle with my plants is I'm not happy with the way I've repotted them. I don't feel that they're sitting quite straight. I might have them off center, and that is a problem. They don't like being fiddled with. They already don't like being transplanted. And then when I continue to fiddle with them, it just ends up stressing them out even more, and then they start deteriorating like this. And I thought I had learned this lesson last year, and clearly I haven't. So I do feel that I have failed my Aglaonema Commutatum Katrina, and I guess I will find out if she will make it. I will let you guys know. And the third plant that is not doing well is this. This is my Peperomia Amigo Marcello. He had a plug with a mesh surrounding it. I took off the mesh, and I have found this happens with a lot of the peperomias particularly. There is a hard chunk of soil inside that mesh. So I took off that chunk of soil and I repotted him because I thought he would be happier. He hasn't been. Now it is possible I might have actually underwatered him because I'm trying very carefully not to overwater my peperomias. And he might be coming back, I don't know, but he's not very happy. And I feel that I have failed him as well, because I've kept fiddling with him as well. It's ironic, isn't it? You think, oh, I'm killing my caparatas because I'm overwatering them. So you try to be more careful with water, and then you might actually end up underwatering your plants. That fine balance is very hard to find sometimes, I feel anyway, particularly with peperomias, and particularly the finer leafed peperomias. I don't know if he's going to survive. I've taken several stem cuttings because I don't think he will, but he's not yellowing, he's not going brown, he's dropping a few leaves. But after I watered him last week, he slowly seems to be coming back, so I'm hoping that he will recover. I actually did repot him today because he was falling out of the pot. I really need to learn to repot better. So I have put him a little bit deeper in the pot to steady him. I've given him some sea salt as well, and I guess we will find out if he survives. It's ironic that I noticed both the Aglaonema and the peperomia both doing badly on the same day, and part of me felt I'm ready to give up with plants. I was so frustrated, so angry at myself, so angry at the plants, that I really wanted to just say I'm done and I don't want to look after plants anymore. It only lasted for a split second, but I was so frustrated. It is, or was, summer when these plants started deteriorating, and I thought, God, if I can't keep them alive during summer, how the hell am I supposed to keep them alive during winter? And I think what compounded the problem was that they were all doing so well, and then they just started deteriorating. I really do feel that I failed these plants, and perhaps others can learn from my mistakes, not to fiddle with your plants, and to not assume that simply because you have kept a plant alive for a year, that it can't still all go wrong. I must admit, I was ashamed of showing you these plants, embarrassed. I felt a failure for not being able to take care of these plants better, but I've gotten over that now. Now I know everyone goes through struggles with their plants, that there are very, very few people who can keep absolutely every single plant alive. And it is part of our learning process to make mistakes and try to take away lessons that we can use in the future. And I really do believe that we learn more from our mistakes than our successes sometimes. I had thought I had learned my not fiddling rule, but clearly I haven't. And as far as I'm concerned, I am not going to give myself a pass on that, because I should have learned that mistake already. If I keep making the same mistake, then I'm not learning. At least now I feel I might be able to recognize root rot, whereas I was never certain before. And I forgot to mention this earlier when I took my Polybottria out of the pot. And this isn't just with her, it's with a lot of plants. Sometimes I can't tell if it is root rot or if it's simply that the soil is actually on the roots themselves. I do smell the roots. I can't tell if it is the soil I'm smelling or if it is rotting. And that, I think, is something that is going to take me time to learn the difference. Particularly with peperomias, because they have such fine, delicate roots anyway. It's not like, say, my Dracaena marginata, which has such thick roots. You immediately know if they're healthy or not. I think what I would like people to take away from this video is not to beat ourselves up about failing a plant or losing a plant. Instead, use that as an opportunity to learn how not to repeat the mistakes we may have made, which led to us losing that plant. Now, I know sometimes it is very hard to know what lesson to take away because we don't know exactly what did go wrong. But perhaps that is also part of being a plant parent, is recognizing that there will be times we will not be able to identify the problem. We will not be able to solve it. That is very hard for me because I am a problem solver. That is just how my brain works, and it bothers me no end not knowing why something happens to one of my plants. I don't know yet if I have learned that, whether I'll be able to accept that lesson, but maybe with time. This is also another lesson which I feel I have taken away from my plant fails, is not to be too proud to ask for help when I don't know what the problem is. And that one is very, very difficult for me because I like to solve a problem for myself. But there are times that I am baffled, that I can't find the answer. And even though it is hard for me to ask, I'm going to have to do that when I can't figure out the answer for myself. I know this may not have been a fun video to watch, but the truth is, I want to keep it real. I want to show you guys the plants I struggle with, fail with, as well as the ones that I do well with. And that is something that I have needed to remind myself that, yes, I might have failed my beautiful Polybotria and my Aglaonema, but I have other plants that are doing very well. And it is only by looking at those plants that are doing well that I'm reminded, okay, there is a balancing here. There might be some I lose, there might be some that I don't look after well enough, but then there are those who are thriving in my care. As long as we do our best, there's not much more that we can ask of ourselves. And I do feel that I have done the best I can by my plants. And sometimes it's not going to be enough. Anyway, that is all I have for you guys today. Let me know if you're struggling with any plants, and you can put it down in the comments or you can contact me on Instagram. If I don't know how to help you, perhaps somebody else does. That is what I absolutely adore about this community, is how helpful and supportive everyone is. Well, most people anyway. And the truth is, that is how we learn, is not just through books, but also through each other. Thank you guys so very much for hanging out with me. I appreciate absolutely every single one of you, and I'm very grateful that you come back and watch my videos every week and comment every week. And of course, as usual, I'm going to ask that if you like this video, you can give it a thumbs up. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing to my channel, as it does help my channel to grow. I hope you all have a beautiful day and a beautiful weekend. Until next time, take care guys. Bye.